Everybody. My name is Teresa Carpenter, and I am an animal advocate with Bailing Out Benji, and I live in Southern California in Lakeside. I've been part of the puppy mill cause to end them and to get put in responsible practices for breeding for more than 10 years. And I'm here today to do an interview with Katie Buckner. She is the co-president of PetConnect Rescue. PetConnect Rescue is out of Maryland, and I'm here to talk to her a little bit about their rescue and about some confusion that has been happening in the past year and a half, especially in California, but other places as well, with other rescues that are not associated with PetConnect, but decided to take on the same name. Katie, how are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I think this is a really important interview because a lot of people are confused about the name being the same as this other nonprofit. And I want to talk to you a little bit about clearing up the record. But first off, I'd like to know a little bit about you and about how you got involved with PetConnect Rescue.
Yeah. So Pet Connect was founded basically right after Hurricane Katrina. Our founder, Lizette, had just gotten her 501c3 and was getting excited to do animal rescue, and then was watching the terrible footage of everything that was happening in Louisiana. And so she basically packed up her car and headed down. And I can only imagine what she saw down there. I've heard her stories, and basically she came back to Maryland with, I think, like 10 cats and 15
Wow.
dogs packed into her car. So she didn't at the time realize it, but she was starting what is now Pet Connect Rescue. And so today we are a much bigger organization. Every year we save, I think this past year we did about 1,200 dogs and cats. So definitely
Wow.
since almost 15 years ago. But I am the co-president of the board, and I've been with the organization for about 6 years.
How did you get involved with the organization?
I was at like a community event and basically saw an adoption event and grabbed a pamphlet and started fostering and got sucked in. So just
Well,
started with asking for some information.
that is amazing, and thank you so much for taking on such a daunting mission. Rescue is, as anyone who does this and is watching here today, it is one of the hardest things to do, and it can be the most heartbreaking, but it's also the most rewarding to be able to put the families with the new pet. One of the reasons we wanted to talk to you today, though, was about there has been some confusion in the last year and a half about another rescue. When did you start to hear that that was an issue, and how did you guys start to become familiar with this, the name being the same, and how did that come about for you guys?
Yeah. So our former director, Lisa, she started getting emails and phone calls, I think like right after January 1st, 2019. Like it was pretty quick. They weren't, it wasn't every day or multiple calls a day, but they started kind of trickling in. And they were calls or emails from people basically saying, like, I either adopted an animal from you from California, which we don't have foster homes in California, and we don't typically adopt animals out to people in California since we're based on the East Coast. Or they would come from people that were saying, we see your animals in pet stores and we don't think they're rescues. What are you doing? So she obviously was like, this is very interesting. We operate outside of DC and I don't know what's happening. So she reached out to some groups in California, started digging around, and realized that a bunch of pet stores there were basically using our name and saying that they were getting the dogs from PetConnect Rescue. So that's kind of how it all started.
Right. And just to bring everybody up to speed, in January 1st of 2019, that's when AB 485 went into effect. That's the Pet Rescue and Adoption Act, which mandates that all shelters in California be sourced from a 501c3 that has a agreement with a public or private shelter. So what the industry did to get around this law is they set up fake 501c3s as pass-throughs. So these nonprofits sometimes just have a post office box. They don't have a Facebook page, and they don't seem to be doing any of the things that you would see in a responsible rescue, such as they're selling puppies for $3,000 to $5,000 in their stores. And what would you say are some of the things that the public can do when they're looking at a pet store and the pet store has rescue animals? What are some of the telltale signs that distinguish your operation and what you do from what some of these rescues are doing?
Yeah. So most of the videos I've seen are actually through your Facebook page and through some of the stuff that you and the groups you're working with are posting. And so I think the first thing that jumps out to me is that we typically, as a rescue, don't get in full litters of purebred dogs. So I think it's not that we would want to, but I think if we had litters of tons of purebred dogs, it would be a lot easier to find homes for all the rescues that we are trying to place.
Right.
Typically, if we get, a cute little Maltese puppy or a cute little French bulldog, it's a one-off. It's a dog that was maybe purchased or got from a breeder and an owner realized it was too much responsibility, or they fell on hard times or something like that. So typically, if you see a lot of purebred little puppies, it's kind of a flag. It doesn't necessarily mean they're not, but I think that would be the first thing that jumps out to me. The next is the price, just seeing the price tags on some of those dogs. Our rescue, the dogs are adopted for under $500, and that includes all of their vetting and all of the information that we're able to provide. And I think that's probably the higher end of an adoption fee that you're going to see. So that's the other thing. I would imagine there's a lot more. There's probably way less of a process when you go into the puppy stores to purchase a dog. They probably aren't going to ask you a lot of questions about, what's your home environment? Like, do you have a yard? Are you going to be using a vet? That kind of stuff. Like, we definitely do spend a lot of time with our adopters and make sure that we're finding a good match for them and setting them up to succeed with the dog that they adopt. So definitely the process differs, I would assume.
Well, I do want to thank you so much for putting the disclaimer on your website. We have had shoppers go into some of the pet stores here in the San Diego area, and they're asking, oh, where's PetConnect? And we have had employees on numerous occasions tell us it's the PetConnect in Maryland. Mm-hmm. And I find that to be very disheartening that they're doing that. We had a lawsuit that's ongoing, and we had witnesses who testified in court just this past Monday who were told that it was your PetConnect. Yeah. So I think that's also the part that's frustrating for us as advocates, is that the PetConnect that, one word, yours, which is being mixed up with the one that's two words in Joplin, Maryland, is not the same nonprofit, yet the industry is allowing that misunderstanding to continue and is actively encouraging it, because your Rescue is reputable and has a Facebook page, has a website. So appreciate you getting on here today and putting out this information, because I think it's so important that people understand the differences and the lengths that the industry will go, including taking the name of an actual nonprofit with a name like yours and the credibility like yours to do that. I want to get into what you guys have been able to do, if anything, legally to try to stop them from doing that, and what recourses that you have when something like this happens.
Yeah. So we are honestly just getting started on some of that. So we are, in touch with our lawyers and trying to figure out what options we do have. I think that just as much as you're thanking me, I want to thank you, because I think that you guys are doing a lot of amazing work in California with the lawsuits, but even just bringing awareness to what's going on. And I think we knew it was going on, but it wasn't until we were able to, connect with you and some of the other organizations to realize like how much of it was actually happening and how many stores were involved. And so we're definitely just getting started, but hopefully we'll be able to help out with some of the stuff that you've already kind of put in motion.
Well, we're trying really hard to attack this from so many angles too. We've got people that we are encouraging who have purchased a sick puppy or who have been misled to contact the Attorney General's office, because this is 501c3 nonprofit fraud, and we really want the consumer to know and to follow the trail, follow the owners, know. I mean, can you give me an example of, if somebody wants to research your nonprofit, are you open to that? Are you, what information are you able to give them so that they know more information about your 501c3 organization?
Yeah. So are you saying, like, as a consumer, what are some of the things
If
that
you're a consumer and you're like, oh, PetConnect, Joplin, Maryland, other than just doing a Google search and seeing if they have a Facebook and a website, are there other things that you think the public could do to discern between a reputable nonprofit that's got a certain amount of standing, credibility wise, and then a nonprofit that just was stood up in, the past month or past year?
Yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned even having like some social media. In rescue, having a Facebook page is huge. A lot of rescues really promote their adoptable animals that way. We're typically connected to some of the larger search engines like Pet Finder or Adopt a Pet. So those are some signs that, the organization is legitimate. But I also think that even going on the website for the Joplin version of PetConnect, I noticed that there really wasn't a direct contact. Like, you kind of had to fill out a generic form, and it really goes into the abyss. Like, you don't know who you're reaching out to. So if you look on our website, you can see who our board of directors is. You can see who our director is, and that there's real people that are working, and then could do even more research into some of the people that are involved in the organization. So as a 501c3, we want to be as transparent as possible and make sure that information is available.
I appreciate that. Is there anything else that you want to add? Anything else that I didn't ask you?
So I think the one thing that is very timely, in Maryland, our governor actually just passed a similar law. And so it's only been a couple days. So I think the general public is really excited about it, but coming from this very unique kind of perspective where we're here locally, but we are being affected negatively by the law in California. Do you have any pointers for us, or any things that maybe we or our supporters can do to make sure that the stores here are actually using rescue animals?
I think you guys need to do the same thing, that if you start to see nonprofits that are not legitimate, the first thing that has to be done is you got to contact the animal control agency that's tasked with the jurisdiction in that area, and see what your law allows. Whether that be in California, it's a citation of $500 per dog, or per animal. So you first have to look at the law and see what are the penalties for lack of cage card, lack of shelter agreement, things like that. And then the second thing is have consumers check out the pet stores that are still selling dogs. Are there pet stores that are still selling dogs in Maryland? I have been told that you're not experiencing yet the same issues that we were, and that your law was written a little bit differently, to where the breeder or the broker cannot accept compensation. That is a key provision. National City passed a ordinance with that in the provision, and one of the pet sellers sued the city and got a issue on the ballot to remove the ordinance. So that was a sign to us as supporters that there must have been some effectiveness to that tact. And I've been told that Maryland took the same approach. So you may avoid some of the issues that we're seeing. But if you're not avoiding those issues, then you need to go to those cities, see if law enforcement will enforce. If they won't, explore passing an ordinance that will tighten up your state law, or revisit the state law to see if it needs any tightening or strengthening. So that's all the things that we're doing in California. Yeah. National City tightened the state law. They're the only ones that did it so far. We had a civil rights attorney who sued the pet store owner and threatened a lawsuit against Westfield Mall, which caused 2 of our stores to close. And then now we're looking at tightening the state law. So it's really and then we still continue to have advocates like myself who stand in front of the store with signs. And we think that is incredibly powerful. And it's a testament that anybody can do this. You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a city council member. You don't have to be a state lawmaker. Anyone at the grassroots level can stand, as long as you get one other person as a witness, can stand, with a sign. And I will tell you, people thank us, they wave to us, they come out, and they just want to tell us about their dog. And it's such a rewarding thing to be doing. So I highly encourage you guys to have people on the ground that are going to those stores and checking and making sure that they're in compliance with the law.
Yeah, that's really helpful.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to hit stop recording and just chat with you a little bit more. But thank you so much, Katie. And if people want to know more information about your nonprofit, could you give us a little bit more information about where people can find you?
Yeah. So our website is petconnectrescue.org. If you do Google Pet Connect Rescue for Potomac, Maryland, that is our location. But yeah, and actually I think if you just type in Pet Connect Rescue, we are, I believe, still the first one that comes up. But yeah, otherwise you can find us on Facebook and Instagram as well, and on maybe Teresa's web page or Facebook page.
Oh, on bailing out Benji. Yeah, bailing out. Yeah, Mindy Callison is very supportive of this effort and getting this interview going. So we're 100% behind you. We thank you for doing this, and hopefully it will clear some things up and help to alleviate any misunderstandings. So thank you very much. Going to hit stop recording now. Thanks, guys.